Good evening, Tawiah. How are you?
Great evening. I'm wonderful, Francis. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. First of all, I miss seeing your face.
I'm
You look
missing your
beautiful.
face.
Thank you. But I would love for you to tell me about your business and how you came about doing this business.
Oh, wow. So that's an interesting story. So, of course, my background is in physical therapy, and I got my doctorate in physical therapy in 2001, 2002. And while I was in school, you know, of course, finances came across here and there. I borrowed money, right, to go to school, borrowed money to do this, and took out loans to do that. But after I graduated and I started working in physical therapy, I was like, man, I'm running into some financial challenges. I'm making a lot of money, but and my parents have told me how to save, but it doesn't seem like it's growing as fast as it should. So I ran across a young lady and her husband who actually had gotten their licenses in securities and insurance. And I was like, well, how do you do that? Because I'm sure that's a great, license to have and use. So they came over to my house and kind of told me a little bit more about it, how to do it, what the cost of it was, what the time, you know, sacrifice was. And so, of course, I was used to taking exam after exam after exam. And I was like, I guess another two or three or four won't hurt. So I decided to go ahead and get those done and started picking up clients on the weekends. I was working 70, 80 hours at the clinic. So I started picking up weekend clients for financial consultation. And after that, once that income started to surpass along with the freedom of time, the income I was making as a physical therapist, I was like, well, hey, you know what? I could do this. It's still helping people, right? I can do this full time, and then I'll have the freedom that I need. And I want to be with my children were at that time younger, doing award ceremonies and field trips here and field trips there. But I was missing out on it because I was working 70, 80 hours at the clinic. So I was like, something's got to give. So that's what moved me into getting into business for myself, being a business owner. First, of course, self-employed, because if I don't work, nothing else does either. But
Right.
learning how to train people and license people as well. So that's now become what I do 24/7.
Um, so are basically educating people on finances or how to manage their finances or their business finances.
Definitely. So it's everything. So it's most of the time it's financial literacy, period. Just understanding how money, literally, I have a PowerPoint that's titled How Money Works, right? We make it, but none of us ever gets directions on the back of our checks that tell us where to put it, how to put it, when to put it. So that's exactly what we do. We sit down with schools, we sit down with families, we sit down with businesses, small businesses, large businesses, book clubs, church meetings, church groups, community centers, set up tables at fairs, wherever we can to get the information out there because people just don't know what's really going on with their money when they simply just put it into a bank account. So having that information empowers so many people. And of course, you put the information out there, doesn't necessarily mean people are going to utilize it. So we always say the knowledge and the power is great, right? But the use of that knowledge is what gives you the power. So we can tell you everything, but if you never actually apply it, then that of course it's not going to be effective.
That's so true. And the funny thing is that so many people talk about needing financial literacy, but many of us don't know where to go get it. Actually, I'm sure you know my son, and he is now a professional wrestler. I say that as many times as I can, but
What?
but we
That's great.
literally have conversations about this, where to
Hmm.
place your money, you know, and how to make your money work for you. And now that I am in a different position, I need the same thing. I need to have training on understanding what to do with my money. Is a savings account the best place for it to go. I've had bonds before. They didn't really make me much money. You know, they allow you to hold your money in place so that you're not spending it. But how do we utilize those funds and help them make them work for us so that maybe 60, well, let's say 30 years from now, um, if I need that money, I can look at it and it's there, but it's also grown.
That's a great question. And a lot of people do say, because traditionally speaking, we want to put our money somewhere and we want to look back at it in 2 years, 3 years and say it's still there. So a lot of people have this concept that putting their money in any sort of market is just way too risky. But there are so many markets out there that are safe. We know that any market that you put money into, of course, does this. It goes up and down and up and down. But would you rather put your money under your pillow, under your mattress, and look back at it in 2 years and it still looks the same? Or would you rather put it under there and it's gained $3,000, $4,000? So the savings account is absolutely a necessity. I believe in three fundamental accounts. You have your savings, your short term, which is your short term. Then you have your emergency savings, and then you have your long term. And that's what you were talking about. In 30 years, where do you put your money? You put your money where you're already putting your money. You're already going to Walmart, right? You're already paying for Xfinity. You're already paying for Comcast. You're already paying for Johnson and Johnson's lotions, shampoos, napkins, paper towels. So it's just putting your money, becoming a partial owner or shareholder of what you're already purchasing. And that's what the mutual funds are. So finding those funds that are going to earn more than 0.08%, which is at the savings account, or 10 to 12%, right? Which one would you choose? In 30 years, 10 to 12% is going to be a whole lot more than the 0.08%. So you're looking to put your money in a mutual fund, something that's nice and conservative, right down the middle, so that when you look and don't touch it, right? Because that account needs to be untouchable. That's why you have the emergency and the short term in place. You don't touch it in 30 years, you could have 500,000, 600,000, 1.2 million, 2.5 million in place.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is good. This because and I love that you're going into schools to teach this because I think that even starting in elementary school, this kind of
Mhm.
thing is important. My
Mhm.
young niece is, I think she's in the sixth grade. When she sees this, I hope she doesn't get mad at me. But she started a business where she uses these bands and she makes necklaces. She makes bracelets and she
Uh-huh.
literally sells them and she's making money. She told me I was making so many bracelets, I need to take a break. So
Oh,
she put
wow.
herself on a little break.
Right.
But even at that age, they're learning how to make money, but they need to learn how to rejuvenate those funds also.
Absolutely.
So I love
Absolutely.
when you make the comment about where to put those funds. So do you give people specific areas as to where they should put those funds, or are you telling them look in this space, or
So
will
that's
you?
a good question. Every person is so different, right? Just like when we think about going to a medical professional, like your treatment from the doctor is not going to be like my treatment because we have very different circumstances, very different
Right.
backgrounds, very different views on how we see medicine. And the same thing applies with money, right? Some of us have a love relationship with money. Some of us have a I'm scared of it. Some of us have a hate. Some of us let it rule what we do. Some of us don't touch it. Some of us hoard it,
Mhm.
right? So it all depends on what that relationship is. So anytime that I develop a relationship with a client, it's literally I court them, right? It takes 3, 4, 5 appointments for me to help understand what they want to do with the money, when they want to touch it. Are they averse to stock market? Are they averse to putting money anywhere where it might fall a little bit, drop a little bit, lose value a little bit? Do they just want it to sit there? Are they about to use it for income in retirement? Do they have 25 years before retirement? So all of those questions are things that come out, and literally I go through a questionnaire so I know exactly who it is I'm talking to, so we don't have problems down the line, or they don't say, well, that's not what I was looking for. That's not what I wanted. I need to know exactly what we're doing here because this is money. People don't play
Right.
with their money, right? And then once you get that fiduciary responsibility, yeah, I'm definitely going to recommend. I'm going to say, do you like Tesla? Is that somewhere you spend your money? What companies do you like? What companies do you support? Because that's where I want your money to go. I want you to be partial owner of where you're already spending your money. And if like you said, bonds, right? Our grandparents used to throw those bonds left and right. If I know you just want your money to sit there and not move, and you get
Right.
just maybe $50 added onto it at the end, then that's something I would consider as well. Are you super conservative? Are you high risk? Do you like speculative stocks? Do you like things that are been on the market for 2 seconds and you think they're going to do great? So you want to take the risk. Is it money that you can afford to throw away? Is it money that's your last savings? So all of those things come into play when you're talking about putting that money away.
That's really good information that you're sharing. And it is, of course, terrifying just a little bit because we are talking about hard-earned money. I don't care how much we make, it's
Right.
still something that we worked hard for. So, yeah, that education is really going to be important. So,
Absolutely.
when it comes to having you come in and doing a consultation, or like you said, hey, you're courting these individuals, how much is it to have you come in and do that? What is that price point like?
So that's a great question. That's the part that I consider the community service bit. I don't charge for that. I get paid through the companies that I contract with. So let's say you and I sit down and this is our third, fourth meeting, and you decide maybe you have a rollover from a previous job and it's $50,000 and you've decided where you want to put it and we'll put it in there. When you roll that money over with AIG or Bright House or Lincoln Financial or any of the big names that are out there, Invesco, then they pay me, right? I'm literally their walking marketer. I'm their commercial. Since they don't have those commercials, I am the person who introduces the people on the outside to them. So they pay me. You don't pay me anything for that consultation.
Wow, you are a big business. I really like that. That's amazing. So, if individuals are looking for you, how do they get in contact with you? Do you have a website or?
Great question. So I usually do all referrals. I give my number directly and then I give my direct email address. So I haven't yet gotten the website. It's there, but that is one of my challenges trying to get that set up and put up. I have individuals that I'm about to hire to do the whole social media piece as well, because I think that's really important to put yourself out there on social media. So those things are in progress, but I would just give them my email address, sandersfinancial.org, or my direct telephone number.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and please, the individuals that you have that are going to do your social media, I need them to
You
help.
need them too. I know. I was like, that gift I was not given.
I'm not, because every now and then I'll decide to put something up that, something funny up, and I'm like, this is supposed to be business. But, it gets,
Exactly.
it's like, well, it's mine. So, yeah. So I need to redirect my thinking.
Right.
So
Right. Exactly.
how is it that so do you work for one company or you literally just work for yourself?
So I have a mother company through a general company in the middle, Primerica, and then I work for 10 to 15 other companies. So, right, those arms that kind of spread out around the middle of you, think of like a spider's body, and then there's arms that reach out. So, what happens because my license is federally governed and my other license is state governed, I'm a contractor. So, just as let me relate it to physical therapy. So physical therapy, my mother company used to be a company called physiotherapy, but I would contract myself out to home health agencies, other clinics. And so that's what I do. Why? Because it makes more money. And it also precludes me from having to get a brick and mortar building and put $150,000 into it. I can just buy a single office, right? And use rent a space. Say the space is $1,000 a month as opposed to $150,000 financial commitment, right? And that makes sense for me because I'm teaching my clients. We're trying to prevent debt, right? I just created a $150,000 debt by purchasing a State Farm and Allstate as opposed to a Sanders Farm, and I can just
Mhm.
be in my own office and do the same things.
That's amazing. So if individuals said, "Hey, I love what she's doing. How do I work with her or work for her?" Are you offering opportunities for that?
Absolutely, all day, every day. Yes, I actually, it's so funny. I'm here for my nephew's, I'm out of town in Maryland this weekend for my nephew's graduation. And literally, he came down to about 2 weeks ago to visit me. And I said, you know what? This would be perfect for you because it's going to teach you. I always tell people if you got your license and you decided you wanted to do nothing else with it, the worst thing that happens is you just learned a ton more about how money works and you are able to apply it and you know where to go to do it. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, I'm all for. I'm always looking for hiring. Like now, everywhere you go, it says now hiring. Literally, right here in the right hand corner of my screen should say now hiring. I'm always looking to expand and educate because, right, it's about distribution. It's about teaching as many people as possible, and if you've got a license and your niece has got a license and my children have got a license and my cousin has got a license, then how many more of us can, learn about finances and really apply it? And I think part of the reason this is such a big passion for me, Francis, is because um, we have so much money in the community, right? So it's not that we don't have the money. We're just
Right.
not doing the right things with it. It's not okay that we're only 2% of the wealth and we're 90% of the buying power, right? If we could flip those numbers just through education, how incredible would that economy be?
Yeah. I think that would be really amazing because with just making and 40,000 and under, we are spending a ton of money. It's really crazy because as soon as people get their paychecks,
Right.
here and there, they're spending that money out.
That's
And then
right.
they're saying, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And my thinking is, okay, well, what are you doing with your money?
Right.
So you are teaching people how to spend. And I know a lot of that money is going into restaurants. Do you educate on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so funny you said that because one of my first investment clients sat down with him and his wife and finished with his wife's budget, went over his budget. So we're itemizing everything. I said, you got to put down the Roku, you got to put down the fax service that's on your phone for $6.99, the Netflix for $11.99, everything. So he gets to the food. This gentleman was spending $750 a month
Woo! Ah,
on food. I said, you're eating your retirement. He was like, I just don't have any money to put away. I said, there it is. It's right there in your food. So the commitment from that point on, right? Because once you've got me as a coach, you've got me as a coach. I'm a little tenacious. So unless you tell me, Tawiah, don't you ever call me, talk to me again. I'm calling, I'm checking up. I need to know if the plan that we set up is in play, right? I need to know that you committed to me. You said you were going to start eating out twice a week, not 5 days, just twice, right? Let's start small. Let's work our way into it. I don't want you to just completely get rid of it because you're gonna have some resentment. So once you started doing that, wow, it's amazing. You found $300 to put away per month, right? Because you were spending 750. So little like baby steps. And yes, do we have to go over it again? But once you start to see it grow, when people start to see their money grow, they get so excited. They start to find money like that comes out of nowhere. They start pulling it from the skies to put it away. So all they need to do is see it.
I love that.
Mhm.
So I know that during the pandemic, it's really bad, but we ate out every single day.
Oh my gosh, people find a way. They will find a way. We find a way to spend money on what we want to spend money on, hands down. So when somebody says, I don't, very few people, Francis, I have honestly sat with and gone through their money. And I was like, yep, you don't. You have nothing right now to put away. So it's either you've got to increase your income, find a second stream, or you're going to be stuck in this position forever. So that you do run into that as well. But if people are willing, eventually there's a way, because most people have a gift or something they're really good at or they love or they're passionate about. It's like all you got to do is now find a way to make money off of it,
Amen.
right? Find a way to make
Amen.
the money, right?
I completely agree. It's okay to, you know, give your talents away sometimes, but there comes a point to where there needs to be a return. I
That's
completely
right.
agree. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it sounds like we definitely, all of us, need you in our lives.
Oh, I would love to be there. It would be a
Yes,
pleasure.
yes, definitely. So I'll tell you a little bit about some of my future short-term plans.
Okay.
So the end of last year, I planned on purchasing a home, and I
Hmm.
was approved and everything. Started looking, and there was absolutely nothing that I would live in.
Hmm.
Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
And I even expanded, where I wanted to live, and I knew it would make me a little uncomfortable. Dunwoody, and that's because it's so busy. All the cars, the traffic, people walking around all the time. I'm used to trees and quiet. You know,
Right.
I was in Gwinnett County for, almost 20 years, and there
Yes.
was nothing but trees there.
Big
So
change. Yeah.
yeah, that city life, that's completely different for me. So I'm looking to purchase, and I put myself in a rush situation before.
Hmm.
Do you plan for things like that? I know you're like, what are you talking about? So do you help plan for things like that? And
Definitely.
okay, good, good.
Definitely. I think so. Remember those three fundamental accounts I was talking about, the emergency, the short term, and the long term. So the emergency is, of course, for the emergency, right? The water heater breaks, you lose your job. So you need to have about 3 months of your income in that account. And then the short term is for exactly what you were talking about. If I know somebody is about to make a purchase on a home, or they want to cash purchase a car, or they want to go on a big all inclusive trip, that's where that money goes in that short term account, because they know exactly how much they need to save there, right? So if you know you want to put 10,000 down on a home, you start to build money in that account so that you're not touching your emergency and you're definitely not touching your retirement. So absolutely, I have to know what the specific figures are. What are we aiming for? If you don't quite know, how much of a house are you aiming for? Do you want a $250,000 house? Do you want a $175,000 house? So all of those things, and I am getting all in your financial business when I sit down. And some people in the beginning are uncomfortable. So that's what I was saying about courting. Like after, once we start peeling back the layers, once I talk to you a couple times and you start to trust me and know that I'm there for, the good of it, and I'm not some scammer, and I'm not
Mhm.
going to share your business with everybody, you start to tell me a little bit more. So the more layers I can peel back, the more effective we can be, partnering together to get you your bulletproof financial plan.
Okay, good. And so for anybody watching, I definitely trust Tawiah. I've known her for years. I don't even know
I
how
can't
many years.
believe how long, yes.
But yeah, you didn't even have children.
I sure didn't. Right. And my oldest is about to be 14.
That's crazy. It's crazy how fast time goes, you know,
Yes,
and we have to nurture every moment, you know.
absolutely.
Yeah, but I definitely trust her, and for me, it's like I don't trust anybody. So that says a whole lot, and I definitely don't mind you being all up in my business because I need. First of all, I don't have anything to hide, but then
Right, right.
then I want the help. So, and this is the reason why I do things like this, because how many people would know how to find someone that can help them with their finances, how to teach them how to save? And the reason why I mentioned the home is because how many people are looking to purchase? A
Oh my
lot of
gosh.
people. And then you made the comment about a cash purchase on a car. And that was the other thing that I wanted to bring up because a lot of people need to talk about this. They need to understand this. So when you are making payments on cars, you are paying more to the APR than you are down on your vehicle. And so if you can make a cash purchase, it's going to be better for your pocket.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, because it goes along with the three principles, right? The first one is to make sure you're saving as much as you can and doing it fast. The second one is to get out of debt fast. I call it good, GOOD, get out of debt, right? And one of the things we do to go into debt is we purchase a vehicle that's 26,000, and the minute we drive it off the lot, right, we're making these 400, 500, 700 a month
Mhm.
payments, and we're losing out on putting that money away. So why not buy a $4,800 car, a $5,600 car, and just completely avoid that sort of debt because it's not appreciating, it's
Mhm.
depreciating, in value. So we're throwing, basically, you're throwing your money away, and you could be saving that because that last principle, right, is so you're saving, you're getting out of debt, and you're protecting. And if you can't do all three of those, we've got to shift some things around financially.
Exactly. And then a lot of times, I've paid off several cars, but when you're taking care of your family and you know um, giving back to the community, you're not thinking about that. You're just making those payments. But then when you go back and you look at it, you pay double the amount of the car.
Vehicle,
So
right?
even if they wanted to get a $10,000, $12,000 car, they can definitely do that and pay
Right.
it in cash and avoid all that. So I want people to understand and know where to find you and so that they can get that help. And if they don't have a car payment right now, hold off. It's okay. As long as
It's
that vehicle
okay.
is riding,
Okay. If the engine didn't fall out and the transmission is still intact, keep that thing.
when I say I am driving a, a, a car that's 20 years old,
Oh, I love it.
and yes, it's
I
20 years
love it.
old, but the car still goes, it still looks good. And my thing is that I see people make those car payments, and that terrifies me. And I don't care how much money I make. I don't want that
Right.
debt.
Right. I'm with you on that, friends. We might need to head up a little group of called Cash Cars Only because
Yes.
I just for me because I want to get to retirement faster. Everything that I make, I want to just throw into my retirement. And so, of course, to keep up with the Joneses, I could be driving around in the Pathfinder and the 2022. And, that would be nice to do. And maybe one day I will. But I have been a frugal fanny since I have was this tiny. So I hang on to, when I say everything, I mean everything, unless it's cracking and breaking and doesn't function because I believe in putting that money away to say, now, you don't have to be a pauper. We still go places, we still have vacations, we still eat things, we still eat out, do things that are fun. But most of that money is put away because I want to be done by 55, right? I don't want to wait till 65 to retire. I want to be finished before that. And the only way to save fast is to be super intentional about putting it away and knowing that you don't have to have the latest and the greatest just to match everybody else.
Yes, yes, that's so true. And listen, me, I'm not trying to impress anybody.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm just trying to live and I want to be comfortable doing it. So
Exactly.
your program sounds like it's perfect. And you mentioned Primerica a while back. And
Hmm.
I've met so many individuals for people that are actually looking for a job because I hear a lot of people, even today, someone made a post about going on an interview and not getting the job.
Oh,
So
wow.
for you, well, let me back just a little bit. I personally know a lot of people that work for Primerica and they are falling. Okay, so
Shh.
listen, the first time I saw this family, and if they watch it, then they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But they pulled up in the lot and I watched all of their cars. And I normally, like, I don't care, But when I saw all of their cars,
All of them.
I'm like Maserati, like, oh, okay, oh.
Like, what do you do?
That was my thought. What do you
Hmm.
do? And eventually when I found out, I was like, that's impressive. And the fact that they brought their children into it, I
Yes.
was impressed with that.
Family business. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's so funny because you mentioned earlier about your son and in wrestling and making that. So Soraya, my daughter, has also gone into doing some business, and Abijah's so funny. My youngest, he's like, I'm going to be a masseuse. So he'll give you like a 5 minute rub and be like, that'll be $5. So they both know what it means to have income. And you know what they do,
What?
Francis, which is so great because they've heard me do a presentation so many times. They'll say, Mommy, here is my whole dollar, $10, $20. Here's my whole check or whatever. I want you to put it where it needs to go. So they
Oh,
understand, like they have a value. They know it's not just money and it shouldn't just be spent.
mhm.
They now know they've got to put it somewhere, that it's got to work for them. And I think that's incredible. I think that's the stuff they should put in elementary schools because what better time to teach them than before they get the money, right? Now we learn at the age of 20 something, 30, 40, 50, we've already created bad habits, right? So we have to reverse some things. We have to shift paradigms about how we think about money. And they could start right at the root, from the very beginning. Oh no, I make money and I save it. Oh no, I do this, right? So what's great about, working with Primerica, right, as one of the companies is that you get well compensated, but you don't get nearly as much as you do with just leaving something else with that family, right? That family, there's a message, I kid you not, I have saved for a year my voicemail. One client calls and one day he says, I just called you, Tawiah, to say, thank you so much for everything. He said, for the first time, I had a financial emergency and it did not shut my family down because I had
Um,
saved money. I mean, there's nothing like that. Like,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
right? Like, he didn't get knocked out financially because he had started to put away, change the way the family was putting money away. And there's nothing like that. Like I can't, $1,000 sitting down with somebody in a 45-minute period does not replace that. That's invaluable. So
yeah.
it's sitting with families and doing that all day, every day that makes it worth it. And then of course it'd be nice if you got a Lamborghini on top of it, right? Lambo, the Lambo
Okay.
to go.
Nah, nah, just to be honest, that's what I want.
That's not your dream car.
That is, but the thing is that I want to pay cash.
Right, right,
So I'm like, I want my house, and I just want to be honest. I'm going to pay the majority of what the house is, what the cost of the house is
right.
in cash, and that way I don't have this crazy mortgage. Because I don't like the concept of when people say, "Oh yeah, I bought a house." No, the bank owns the house, and you're yeah, you're paying the bank, and then if you pay that, then the home is yours. So
Absolutely,
I don't like the
absolutely.
thought of somebody being able to come take something and I paid you all these years for it. Or we go into some kind of a depression and all of a sudden, oh, you changed my APR and now my mortgage is sky high and I
I can't
literally can't
handle it.
afford it unless I
Right.
bring everybody in to live with me and we pay
That's right.
together. So,
So that's a really good point. I mean, the good thing about, the good debt of a home far surpasses that of course, the vehicle. But absolutely, if you can cash pay for all of those things, that'd be great. With the home now, because you're talking about purchasing, such an interesting thing. The rent is three, four, five times what most mortgages are used to be. Now everything's a bit inflated. But even if you paid a higher mortgage, you still don't meet what most people are paying for rent. So it's kind of one of those, give and take things. You kind of have to ask yourself, now, if I pay this much cash down, am I taking away from so there's so many things. Am I taking away from the retirement money that I have? Is it okay for me to have a $900 mortgage, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
As opposed to, put all of my money down and drop my mortgage to just $200 a month, but now only have $50,000 in savings and I'm only 10 years from retirement. So there's so many pieces to the puzzle that most people aren't thinking about. And so that's when it's really good to sit down with somebody. And even if you just hear yourself talking out loud and you kind of answer your own questions like, oh, well, yeah, that wouldn't make sense. And I didn't tell you anything, right? I'm just the sounding board sitting there literally so you can actually talk it through because most of us don't have the money conversations. So when I walk into the room, now you can have the money conversation. And most of the time you say things before I even say anything. You're like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. It's just having somebody there to open up the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think I don't know anybody, I don't care how much you don't make or how much you do make, that doesn't need that. To have
Oh,
that honest
absolutely.
conversation basically with themselves, and then you come in and say, well, did you think about it this way?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, and then I like the balance that you just brought when you said, is it better to have that retirement money or that lower payment? Because
Hmm.
then you open up more doors. So I like
Right.
that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, it's like, hey, the lower the payment, I'm good.
Better. Right. Right. And that releases some people. For some people, that's huge. Like, oh gosh,
Mhm.
like kind of makes your neck loosen up a little bit and you can breathe,
Yeah.
drop your shoulders a little bit. So like we were talking about before, it all depends on your relationship with money. Some people like to look over and see goo gobs of money in their savings account. Like, oh no, I wanted to stay at 500,000 or more. So if I need to just go ahead and pay a mortgage of 1,400 a month, then I'm okay with that as long as I don't have to touch my retirement over here. So
Yeah.
it all depends on, where you want to go with it, how long you have to get to retirement, how long you want to pay that mortgage, right? Is it a traditional 30 year? Do you want to drop it down to 10 years? Do you want to make it 20? So, or do you want to purchase it and just pay for it for a while and then sell it? Are you looking for the market value to go back up and reset, like flip it? There's so many things, so many questions to ask,
Yeah.
regarding the home purchase, the car purchase, the savings.
Well, I'm excited to get started. I am.
Well, I'm
I have.
excited for you. It's always exciting. Yes.
Me too. Me too. And I can't wait to tell my son about you because literally for the last few years, I've been saying, okay, we have to bring somebody in. So I have one more question. I promised I wouldn't keep you. I know you're with family. And again, congratulations
Thank
on your nephew.
you.
You're
Thank you. Thank you.
welcome.
Exciting. He's my first baby.
I, I know that's right. Listen, the nieces and nephews, they are our babies.
They
You know,
are.
they
They
are. And
are.
I'm so proud of them. I love to see how they're excelling so
Yes.
well, and their thought process is your word,
Incredible.
futuristic.
Oh my gosh. Like just, yeah, just sitting and listening to him. And I'm like, first of all, his voice sounds like a grown man. And I'm like, what
Oh,
happened?
excuse
And I'm like,
me.
what happened? Wait a minute. I used to
Yeah,
change your diapers and get up with you in
calm
the middle of the
down.
night. What happened? So yeah, just hearing how mature they are in their thinking. Yeah.
Mhm. That's like your babies, though. I mean, first of all, they're beautiful.
Oh,
They're
thank you.
intelligent. You're welcome, but they grew up too fast.
They did. They did. It went fast. And they're mine, and it's still fast, right? Sometimes we're like, oh no, honey, this took forever. But no, it has. It's been like,
It went too fast. Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. But
mhm.
we're gonna still love them like they little babies.
Right. Absolutely. They're still my babies.
That's right. That's right. So when you work for a company and you have a retirement fund, do you work with that also? Are you able to look at that and then see, okay, you have this set up, but maybe we can add something a little bit more, or can you kind of tell us if we have stock? I know with ours, it has something to do with stocks. I have no idea. I just be like, place it wherever you want to.
Right.
It's good to me, growing really great. So, can you tell us with our work benefits? Okay, maybe you
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good question. There are actually a couple of states, Florida being one of them because it's such a high state for the elderly being taken advantage of. If you were in Florida, I could not touch what you had going on with work. Any of that pension, I can't even advise you on. I can tell you where to put money outside of it. Like, say you didn't have a Roth IRA, right? But you have a 401k at the job and you want an additional retirement fund, I can absolutely tell you what to do with that one. And for most of the places that you work, I can do that too. And I can even look at the funds that they're in. Like if you say, Tawiah, for the last 15 years I've been here and I feel like my money is averaging 3%. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's probably some things in there, right? Because you're still working there. We usually won't move it if you're still working there, especially if they're matching, because that's free money. So
Right.
anytime they're matching, you match you put in what they match up, but you don't go above it because that's money you could be putting into a Roth, right? Because the Roth is that interest, you don't pay any interest on it once you start pulling funds from it. So I always say, let's look at it. I can look at it. If you pull it up online, we share screens. I can show you, see where we might be able to shift some things, and then that'd be great. But if it's doing great, leave it where it is until you retire. And then when you retire, that's where I come in. I say, okay, well now, Francis, you're leaving Bell South. So let's go ahead and roll your money over into a traditional IRA to some other vehicle, and that way you can start pulling the funds from it to live off of. So that's where I would come in on that. And if you were still actually working at a place, but so many people leave money with their exes, and I always tell people, would you leave your money with your ex, like your relationship ex? So don't leave your money with your ex job, right? If you
Okay.
leave that place, move your money with you, right? Move it, sit down with somebody like me, and we can figure out where to put it so that it's still growing. But usually when you leave a place of work, they stop managing, looking at your money because they're like, well, Francis doesn't work here anymore. Kind of put that one over to the side. So you want to take it somewhere where somebody's going to be looking at it, managing it closer.
Thank you. That is perfect.
You're welcome.
Offer a lot of benefits. So I want to make sure that I get this information out to everyone. Um,
Awesome.
yes. So I'll be posting your telephone number and then your email address.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. And then once she gets her social media all set up, then
I
we
know.
share that
Once I
information
get good
out.
at that, right?
Well, listen, look at mine. Honestly, I don't tell people what my Instagram is because they would be like, "Is she serious?" Like,
And I just set one up like a month ago. Literally, I don't even know how to navigate the thing. I'm just,
no, that listen, that's okay. We are learning. Okay,
yes,
we're not millennials. The
yes.
babies, those babies, listen, they have come out understanding how to work the computers.
I
Yeah.
mean, at the age of 2 months, right? Exactly.
Yes. Yes. My grandbabies literally can get my phone, download Netflix, and start watching a movie. Okay.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
And
On
you said
YouTube.
grandbabies. That just blew my mind.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Oh
you
my
have seen the
gosh.
grandbabies?
Huh?
Have you seen them?
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, my
What is
daughters,
going on here?
yes, my daughters, they've been married for ever now. And I know. And so they have two of each.
Oh
So
my goodness. So you're grandma 4 times over?
yeah, and the funny thing is that those babies act just like me. So I'm every time they come around, I'm cracking up laughing. They
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
know I'm just like, oh well, what can we do? You know,
I love it. I love it. I
we
love it.
appreciate your little crazy greatness.
That is so great. You got to send me some pictures.
I will send you pictures. Wait till you see them. You
I
have to see
can't
them.
wait. They probably look like you too.
They do look
They
like
do.
me. They absolutely do. And then
Oh
one
my
is named
gosh.
after me. So she doesn't have the Francis. I kept telling them, name one of your kids Francis. But her middle name is Lillian. So
Oh, I love it. Okay.
yeah. So she will argue with me, telling me that no, my name is Lillian. Girl, she just
You're like,
turned 2.
look, I'm the first Lillian, little girl.
I'm the third. My grandmother was
Oh,
she was the first. So I'm trying to teach her how to share because, you know,
how old? How old?
she literally just turned 3.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
turned.
Oh my gosh, Francis, that's so awesome.
Yeah, but the oldest ones are 8. So I know. I know.
You cannot have an
Girl,
80-year-old
girl, you
grandmother.
see this gray hair coming in.
Where, ma'am? I don't
And
see
I got on
anything.
my comfortable dress
I
today.
don't see anything that
On
looks like
my dress.
grandma over there. I'm looking. I'm looking. I don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't
Uh,
see it. Oh my gosh. Amazing, beautiful, ageless.
Thank
Wow.
you. Thank
You
you,
are
girl. Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you. But I appreciate you coming and doing this interview with me.
Oh,
It has
it's my
been
pleasure.
a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much for
You're-
having me.
Thank you. And look, I look forward to you working with me and getting these finances together
Yeah,
so that I can
I'm very excited
get
about
my
that
future.
part.
Thank you. I know I'm finally living on my own. I'm grown, girl.
You growing? I love it.
So I would, any last words before we go?
I would just say, whatever state you're in, right? Even if you've never had a conversation about money, you're nervous about it, you feel like you know everything, right? Because we've got those out there too. Take the chance, take 25, 30 minutes to just go over just the basics, just to see if you're on track. There's nothing to lose by making sure that you're headed in the right direction, putting things where they need to go, and budgeting the way you need to budget.
Thank you so much. Those are
Thank you.
wonderful last words. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Tawiah.
Thank you, Francis.